Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. We are from Group 2 want to present our discussion. The topic for our discussion is about organ of speech and airstream mechanism. So, before we start our presentation, I want to introduce our group member. So, Group 2 is consists of me, Meisya Putri Anandita, Tharra Azkia Darmawan, and Bunga Melssa Maurelia. So the first one, we are going to talk about what is a speech organ. Speech organs are organs in the human's body that function in the pronunciation of language sounds. The organs involved include lungs, larynx, pharynx, nasal cavity, oral cavity, lips, teeth, tongue, alveolar ridge, palate, phloem, and uvula. Second one, how the sound is made. Phoneticians use the term airstream mechanism to describe moving air used in speech production. It is important to describe how the air is set in motion and the direction it travels. The commonest airstream mechanism used in the world languages is the pulmonic aggressive mechanism. When this mechanism is employed, air is expelled from the lungs up the windpipe and gets out through the mouth or through the nose or through both. The lungs. The lungs in air-breathing vertebrates, either of the two large organs of respiration located in the chest cavity and responsible for adding oxygen and removing carbon dioxide from the blood. The lungs are a pair of spongy, air-filled organs located on either side of the chest or thorax. The trachea or windpipe conducts inhaled air into the lungs through its tubular branches called bronchi. The bronchi then divided into smaller and smaller branches called bronchioles. Finally become microscopic. Pharynx. The pharynx is a tube which begins just above the larynx. It is about 7 centimeters long in women and about 8 centimeters in men. And its top end it is divided into two, one part being the back of the mouth and the other being the beginning of the way through the nasal cavity. Larynx is a hollow tube that lets air pass from your throat, pharynx, to your trachea on the way to your lungs. It is also contains your vocal cord and it's essential to human speech, so it's often called the voice box. So the next slide are going to be presented by Tharra. So Tharra, the time is yours.
Thank you. The next slide is nasal cavity or nasal tract. Nasal cavity is a space inside the nose which is the air passage provided by nose. The nasal cavity lies above the bone that forms the roof of the mouth and curves down at the back to join the throat. The nasal passage filter and warm the air and make it moist before it goes into the lungs. Next is oral cavity or oral tract. Oral cavity, which is the air passage offered by the mouth. The oral cavity is defined as the space extending from the lips anteriorly to vesical pillars posteriorly and is bounded laterally by the cheeks, superiorly by the palate, and inferiorly by the muscular floor and the tongue. Next slide, please. Next is the tongue. Tongue is the primary articulating organ. The tongue can be raised, thrust forward or drawn back and even rolled back. There are 5 areas of the tongue. First, teeth, the narrow area at the front. Second, blade, the behind of the teeth. Third, body, the main mass of the tongue. Fourth, back, the hindmost part of the tongue. Fifth, dorsum. The body and the back of the tongue, or can also be referred to jointly. Sixth, root. The upper part of the throat or pharynx. Next slide, please. Places of articulation. Place of articulation is each point at which the earstream can be modified to produce a different sound. It can be found at the lips, within the oral cavity, and the pharynx and the glottis. Next slide, please. The places of articulation. First, labial. Labial is closure or near closure of the lips. Besides that, sounds that involving both lips are termed labial. Example, pear, bean, and month. If sounds involving the lower lip and upper teeth are called labiodentals. Example, fire and vow. Next is dental. Dentals is the way of sounds production with the tongue placed against or near the teeth. If the sound is produced by placing the tongue between the teeth, it's called labiodentals. Example, this and think. Next will be present by Bunga.
Okay, is alveolar. Alveolar ridge is a small ridge protrudes from just behind the upper front teeth. Alveolar sound is produced by touching the alveolar ridge with the tongue. For example, at the beginning, the initial of words like top, deer, soap, zip, lip, neck, and some languages like Spanish that have an R. The next is alveolar and palatal. Alveopalatal or palato-alveolar in some books is the roof of the mouth that rises sharply behind the alveolar ridge. For example, at the words show, measure, chip, and judge. Moreover, the highest part of the roof of the mouth is called palate, and sounds produced with the tongue on or near this area called palatals. This word initial found in yes in palatal glide. Next. The next is velar. Velars are consonant articulated with the back part of the tongue or dorsum against the soft palate, the back part of the roof of the mouth, known also as the velum. Velars are heard in English at the beginning of the word guy and call. The word wet is called as labiovelar, since the tongue is raised near the velum and the lips are rounded at the same time. The next is uvula. The uvula is a tiny fleshy flap of tissue that hangs down from the velum. Uvulars are sounds created with the tongue close or touching this area. The R sound is typical. European French is uvular, yet there are no uvulars in English. Next. The last one is pharyngeal. The area of the throat between the uvula and the larynx is known as the pharynx. Sounds made through the modification of airflow in this region by retracting the tongue or constricting the pharynx are called pharyngeals. Pharyngeals can be found in many dialects of Arabic, but not in English. And also glottal sounds produced using the vocal folds as primary articulators are called glottals. The sounds at the beginning of the English words flip and flock is made at the glottis.
So that's our presentation, and here you can see the credits. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.